Welcome everybody to the Creation Wars episode 16, which unfortunately for me coincides with the beginning of the first quarterfinal of the Cricket World Cup, which I have playing in the background, courtesy of an illegal stream from the UK, of South Africa's batting. They won the toss, chose to bat. They will bat for 50 overs, and over is a collection of 6 bowls. And then New Zealand will field first, and we've got to restrict them, get them all out, and then go back and exceed their total. So it's going to be a fun afternoon of cricket for me. If I do get distracted from Creation Wars, I'm very sorry. So let's introduce who we have on today. As usual, Stuart is backing me up. Hello, Stu. Welcome along again.
Hello.
I like how you have to engage your microphone every time. That's cool. Very cool.
It's one of the best features on any headset I've ever had. I never need to worry about whether I'm muted or not because I hear the click.
Oh, look at that. Excellent.
Yes,
I love it. Okay, and the slightly less pixelated than usual Tiff. Welcome, Tiff. Thank you for coming along. Tiff will be running the Twitterific account in the background at Magical Arcanum. If you want to talk to us via Tiff, please go onto Twitter and post via that. Special guest causing trouble today, Mr. Trey Ratcliffe. Welcome back to New Zealand, Trey.
Hello, Ollie. Yay! Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Happy to see you. Yeah, very excited. I love me some Creation Wars. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and this one is the Landscape Super Edition, so that kind of fits right into what you do.
Yeah, no, this is genius. I like kind of theming these things. See, this is the kind of stuff your brain comes up with, Ollie. I'm just too scatterbrained all over the place to see something so obvious and plain that you saw, like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I Sherlock Holmes it via Stuart Davidson, I believe. He may have to correct me on that, but the most wise thing anyone ever said to me is surround yourself with better people than yourself. And I pretty much do no thinking. I definitely don't do any activity, and I just host this thing. Thank you, Trey, for handing over the baton of hosting.
No problem. We all know that Stuart is the puppet master of the Arcanum. Not only does he control you, but he's in total control of Peter Giordano. Like Peter calls him every night and says, "What should I say tomorrow? What should we do?" and Stuart just sits back just stroking a white cat with his Lobot earphones and says, "Here's what we're going to do. This is what Spheres 2 is all about."
This is not meant to be public knowledge. I'm meant to be the power behind the veil.
There can be only one.
Mr. A.D. Wheeler is joining us. Welcome back, A.D., from your big trip to Joshua Tree.
Thanks very much. Glad to be here.
And
Glad to be home.
Martin Bailey from Japan. Come on in, Japan.
Hey guys.
How's
Nice to be
the weather
back.
here?
Oh, it's warming up now. Finally getting a bit of spring.
Yeah. Some nice little blossoms on the trees, I hope.
Yep, just Tokyo opened yesterday. They classify it as if 3 cherry blossom open on a specific tree in Tokyo, Tokyo's cherry blossom has bloomed.
Fantastic. Welcome to cherry blossom season. Ron Cliffords, come on in, Canada.
Yeah, hello. Sorry if I left the door open. It was about -10 out today, so we're really welcoming spring along here.
Excellent. And Wes.
Howdy. Yeah. So, I've been lucky. I've been wearing shorts since I think January in California. So I don't know what I'm going to be wearing come July, but it's been beautiful and absolutely no rain whatsoever. We don't love that part actually.
Nicely done. So welcome to everybody. I wanted to talk first up about the new community we've set up called the Creation Wars, and I'll explain why. I was out and about last week, I think it was, or maybe the week before. I couldn't make the show, and I couldn't find the link to go on my iPhone to see the show live because iPhone has a real problem watching these things. So I decided enough is enough. There must be other people around the world who can't find the links or get in contact with people they need to. So we set up the Creation Wars community, and we currently have 106 members, which is pretty good for about 3 days. So if you want to pop along, we will share the link on the current page for this event. But also, I have just in the last half hour purchased the creationwars.com, which, once it's stopped being stupid, will forward to our Creation Wars community on Google+. So that will be the easy way to find us, the creationwars.com. Don't go to creationwars.com because that's some really random website about arguments for creation versus everything else. There's a heading there called Obama. Just on the next line, there's Alcoholics Anonymous and Scientology. So yeah, don't go to creationwars.com. That'll freak you out.
I think there's something there for all of us, actually.
Oh, that's true. There's maybe some.
It runs the gamut.
Actually,
I like
speaking of
that
Scientology,
symbol up top. It says discerning temporal deception. That's a hot topic of mine.
that's
I'm gonna read
crazy.
that.
It's gone all ballistic. So anyway, yeah, go to the Creation Wars, but that may take a few hours because I've literally just bought it. So who knows how the internet works? I certainly don't. So while we're here, I want to share with you one of the categories is critique my image, and so this is where you guys are welcome to post some images, and during the show or in the after show, if we have time, we'll look through these and we can critique them. And then the cool thing is when we're finished, we can shift them to another category called critiqued images. So that makes it really easy for us on the show. The one I wanted to go through today is this one here by Vesa. And the reason was he was the first person to ask to join the community. So I said, well done, you've won yourself a free critique. So the masters will have this image as a link in the chat window of our Hangout today. But if we can go from my left to right, starting with AD, then moving on to Martin, and then Ron, and then Wes, just give us some feedback about this image as you see it.
Well, I looked at this in the actual community, and I really like the image a lot. I do wish that it was a square crop, and I really wish that the two guys were kind of in that window together, and there wasn't this extra thing on the side. Other than that, I think it's a great image, and it definitely is worth exploring more. It's not my forte, so I can't really go too deep. I was very interested in reading what other folks had to say about it, though. So it gave me good insight on the image itself.
Cool, thank you. Martin? You're muted, buddy.
Okay, sorry about that. No, I like it. I think it's, you know, I agree with AD about the crop, but you know, when you look at it, you've got the right third and two left thirds, and that works relatively well as well. But of course, it does dissect the guy standing a little bit taller. So yeah, maybe wait for a different moment. But I think the subject matter is really worth exploring. And you know, the colours, splashes of colours everywhere, then the utensils really sort of add a lot. And of course, just the fact that it's going through this wobbly glass is really adds an extra sort of dimension. So I like it a lot. It's a good try, and I think, you know, maybe with a slightly different pose in the people, maybe a different position would really bring it out.
Cool, Ron, your turn.
Yeah. Do you want to just entertain me for a second? You click slideshow so I lose the white on the right-hand side of the image. Just click on slideshow so I see it as a... It would really help me out a lot. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, first of all, visual impact, 10 out of 10. It's quirky and unique, and it draws me into it. The arrangement compositionally is asymmetrical, but extremely well balanced at the same time. And the fact that the one gentleman is cut off doesn't bother me at all. It's interesting how different masters or different artists see different things differently. That's a good one. We should send it to the president. We see different things differently. Sorry. What I think is intriguing is the fact that he does go into the other pieces of glass, and it actually completes the picture for our minds, that we understand that they are all behind that. They're not three separate images or three separate portions, but in fact one of a whole, and it helps me complete the image in my mind. I think this is an excellent image.
Cool, thank you, Ron. And Wes?
Yeah, so I love this image too. I actually saw it in the community room when it was posted, and it made me stop. You know, and anytime an image makes you stop and look at it and wonder why, you know, that's a really good mark of a good image. And the crop doesn't bother me. I actually think it works quite well. And Ron, actually, the guy that's sort of cut in half doesn't bother me either, because it shows, you know, the binding left to right. Whereas if the right was totally separate from the left, you wouldn't get that transition from the left to the right. The one thing, you know, in fact, I have in my cohort, one of the things that our our members have to do is find some subjects of mystery where you're captivated by what's going on and you have to try and figure it out. And I think that this wavy glass does that perfectly. That being said, there's a couple of things that I would probably do. I'd want that front guy to be a little bit brighter in order to make him really more pop. He's really the subject of interest, and he's beautifully framed by those utensils. And the top left corner and the bottom right corners are a little bit on the bright side. They actually distract, especially that big jar of mayo or something, and the silverwares. I don't want to be pulled that hard to the right. They're interesting things to find, but I find them too early. Gorgeous image, though. I actually really like this one a lot.
Yeah, cool. Me too. My own personal opinion, I would have liked I think someone said a different moment. I would have loved to have seen a long shutter with a bit of movement in the background. That would have really sold it for me. But again, beautiful shot, and thank you very much for sharing. Okay, so let's push buttons to escape out of there, and we'll come back to the main show. So just a reminder, if you're on Twitter, at Magical Arcanum, and your hashtag today will be hashtag #CreationWars16, 16. So usually at this time of the show we have an image to share where we critique and the person runs away and works on it for our extreme makeover. Unfortunately, I left it a bit late to ask, and the one person who said they could then suddenly said they couldn't. So apologies for not being able to follow through with that. However, we have some pretty exciting images coming up from our masters today. So I'm just going to crack straight into this with Mr. A.D. Wheeler. If you can share your screen. And do you have with you the goals of the image or anything else you can share?
Yes, I do. I have a small presentation that's very quick and to the point. So I will throw that all at you guys here as soon as I bring the window back so I can see it. Lovely. Where did the Hangout window go? There we go. Can you guys see that all right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm bringing to you apprentice Caleb Ash today. He is a yoga master and currently lives with his wonderful family in Santa Monica, California. He accepted my invitation to House Lightbender in the Arcanum on July 30th in 2014, and I just wanted to say with the utmost confidence that every step of the journey with Caleb has been a spiritual one. And Caleb, if you're watching, which I'm pretty sure you are, I just wanted to say to you personally that I've learned a lot from you, my friend, and I'm happy to have you on this quest with me. And most of all, the thing that Caleb brings is he has a dream, and he's gone after it, and he's achieved some crazy, awesome things, and I wanted to share those with you today.
I like this guy already, AD. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm
Awesome.
on board. Let's go.
All right. I must admit that I found Caleb had many different assets and being quite the man of mystery. It was during Caleb's level 4 critique that I discovered some of these awesome secrets that he had tucked away. For one, he's a native New Yorker like myself, and please don't hold that against us, and if you do, well, forget about it, you know. He was also on television in 1983, you're going to love this, in an episode of Chips with Danny Bonaducci. I'll let you guys look that up on the internet because it's pretty cool. And probably one of the coolest, these are some of Caleb's images, by the way, from his website that I posted earlier. We'll put that with the video. I'm sure Stu will take care of that. One of the coolest things is that he worked on a bunch of really big movies, and a couple of them were When Dreams May Come with Robin Williams, and Star Trek First Contact, Independence Day, and probably the most famous one of all, the original 1977 classic, Star Wars.
Brilliant.
In our native New York tongue, I have to say, how freaking cool is that, right? That I have somebody in my cohort that was on that movie. As that movie, as you could tell by everything that was in my little screen there, you know, was about that. So on a recent trip with Caleb and other cohort members to Joshua Tree National Park, Caleb shared some very special photos with me, and I want to take a second to share those photos with you because I think these are amazing. These are not the submissions for tonight, but just to give you an idea of what this man can do. These are Caleb's original film shots from the production set of Star Wars. Here is a multiple Academy Award winner, inventor of the Pignos guitar amp, and most importantly, the man that turned Caleb onto photography, Richard Edlund, and he's working on a model of my favorite part of Star Wars, the Death Star. He also had a bunch of images. Here's Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, and of course, the X-Wing fighter. And Caleb knows that I'm a huge Star Wars geek, and he allowed me to collaborate with him on a special project to produce some fun works of his amazing photographs. His work really inspired me, so I put these together for him out of his original film scans. And these really brought a lot of joy to me to be able to put this stuff together for him.
Very cool.
All of this brings me to his submission, and this is from Caleb. And this is his photo, and these are Caleb's words to the photo. At the end of the glorious day in Sequoia National Park, photographing the majestic giant redwood trees, my last stop was Morro Rock. As my luck would have it, the rock, usually closed this time of year, was actually open. It's about 8 stories tall and requires me to climb stairs that wind around through its gigantic rock formations, giving peaks of the amazing vista at every landing. When I got to the top, there were 4 other people, and no one spoke. It was truly awe-inspiring, and for the next 20 minutes, the only thing you heard was my shudder and the wind. 20 or 30 people came and left, and I was there, and every person kept a noble silence. A part of me felt kind of guilty about disturbing the space, but this is what I came for, and this moment is what I lived for. I realized that those moments and this are why I take photographs. The goal to my goal is to photograph spirit, always, everywhere, and in everything. So guys, I give you Caleb Ash. He's a yoga master, and he's fast becoming a photography master as well.
Great presentation, AD. Thank you very much. Martin, you're first.
Can I just leave now? So yeah, great presentation, AD. It's going to be hard to follow. So the image, I love it. You know, we've obviously the key thing here is the layers of the mist and the way, you know, we started on almost total black and go through a series of the mountains, getting gradually, you know, closer to grays or lighter grays, and then, you know, the way the clouds seem to be pouring through this slight dip in the furthest line of mountains is just beautiful. To improve the image, you know, that's a really difficult thing to say. I feel as though I want a little bit more of this first foreground line of very dark trees. I think if we'd got maybe an extra 5% of the total just along the bottom with another darker line down there, that for me would probably help to balance the image out. Perhaps also, you know, around, maybe not quite as much, but that very, very thin layer line of grey above the horizon on the sky, if we'd got about that much more black at the bottom, I think to me it would feel more symmetrical and a little bit better balanced. As it is, it feels as though it's cut off just a little bit prematurely on the bottom. But otherwise, I love it. You know, the exposure's perfect. The way these mountains, just the gradations and all of the detail down there is just, for me, incredible. I love it a lot.
Cool. Thank you, Martin. Ron's turn.
Yeah, I would agree with Martin. The first thing that strikes me about the image is that I really would like to see it grounded with a little bit more of the dark value at the bottom, whether or not there's more or less of the light at the top. I don't think it would be important, but I would love to see this grounded a little more at the bottom. And what brings this image from being a typical image? Many of us have seen these moving off into the distant mountains images, and sometimes in monochrome of different colors, or in black and white, or even full color. What makes this image different is the breaking of the clouds through the mountains in the center, coming forward and creating a bigger story. And that's really important in a day when we're thrown images over and over and over of a similar style or kind. We get to see thousands of images. This one separates itself from the average image by giving us a bigger story. And so I think very high marks go towards that part of this image. Other than that, I don't really have a critique for it. I just would like to see a little more grounded with some more dark value in the foreground. It's a superb image. Well done.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Wes.
Am I on mute? No. Okay. Yeah, this is a stunning image, and I think Ron put it perfectly. The fundamental point behind it makes it so wonderful is that wave of clouds just pouring in over that back ridge. I mean, you could just imagine them just slowly rolling off towards you, kind of like the fog in the movie. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous image. There's a few little tiny things to me that stand out, but they're so minor compared to the awesomeness of this. But that front ridge, there's a dark band right on that bottom edge, right on that front ridge, which is kind of strange. I'm not sure what that is and whether that's the darkness of the tree line or something, but because there's no detail, you can't tell in it. It looks a little odd. Overall, the depth of the images is the other thing that really, really makes it strong. You get that lead dark line all the way back, to the white in the background. The one thing that doesn't quite add up to me is that back ridge. I feel like it should be slightly, more faded. That if there was mist, and even if there's mist this low, you would still expect that back hill to be, a little bit lighter than everything else in order to get that depth of feeling to it. But overall, this is a fantastically processed image. The tonality range is great. I just want a little bit more range in that back ridge in particular. Gorgeous, gorgeous image. Love it.
Cool. Thank you, Masters. Trey, I know you're itching to have a chat. What do you think?
I think it's great. Very well accomplished image. Pretty much everything about it I like. I have a feeling that maybe the colors were very drab when he was up there. Maybe it's later in the day, kind of blue, and that's why he went black and white instead of color, which is usually a good idea. So that's very prescient of him, because a lot of times people will leave it sort of a boring color, but if you just cram it into black like he did, it looks really nice. I like what Martin said about having more space on the bottom. Another thing there's two other options he could have gone with here. I'm not saying they're better. There's other options, other interpretations. He could have taken the whole thing and stretched it vertically, make it bigger. That would make the mountain seem a little bit bigger, and it would have changed the aspect ratio, but that would have also been a powerful image. Or if he wanted to leave it in color, he could have dropped a gradient on top of it, like in Nik software or something, to maybe enhance some of the colors. It's very nice to see colors that change as they get close to you. That would add another layer of interest to the photo as well. But how it is, it's great. AD, you always bring the pain. But this time you brought it in the form of like love and Zen type stuff. So it's very confusing how you brought the pain this time. But it's fantastic. I can't believe anyone could outdo this. But I have a feeling there's going to be some competition.
It sure is competition today. Being the film guy, I would have loved to have seen a time lapse of this, because I just want to see those clouds pouring into that valley. That would have just made it for me.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, AD. How cool would a time lapse be here?
Yeah, that would just be awesome. Anyway, well done to AD and to Caleb. So thank you very much. Martin, it's your turn to share, and Ron will be judging first.
Okay, let me share my screen. So, can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay.
Who is Andy Bartlett?
Who is Andy Bartlett? Well, Andy Bartlett is. I'm actually just going to, rather than going through in presentation mode, which will make me lose a few things, I'm just going to click through these. So I'm going to present a photo from one of the first people to join my cohort. I think it was back in May last year. Andy Bartlett, well, in his own words, he's just a guy, and that's actually just modesty. He's not just a guy. He's an amazing photographer, and I've really enjoyed working with him over the last almost 9 months or so now. He's got one of those regular office jobs, which is probably just being modest again. But what he really likes to do is to get out of the city with his family and sit around messing with his cameras and trying to stay dry. He is obviously he's got his little one here, and he doesn't always have room for a camera, he says. but he just really enjoys, whether with his camera or with his family, just exploring the natural world. And he loves to go up to the Hebridean Islands in the northwest of Scotland, and that's where he gets his first artistic inspiration. And he also says that he gets to help out with his in-laws' croft as well. His in-laws look a little bit strange, but he seems to have fun with them. And he's also now learning to see the beautiful things closer to home. I love the way he's got his tongue sticking out there as he hits his remote. And don't you just love the tiara? I love it. Little girls always seem to end up with a tiara at some point in their life. And he's accrediting a part of that to his time with me and the rest of the guys in our cohort in the Arcanum. I've put a link here to Andy's Flickr stream, and I've also got this very briefly on the screen here so that we can just take a quick look. But Andy does mainly landscape, which is great because we do a landscape cohort, and flowers. He's got a lot of beautiful images that if you want to take a look here, you'll have to go back and pause the video later to get the link. But actually, I guess we can put this into the show notes. But Andy's work on Flickr is great. He doesn't have his own website, but just look at this presentation here as we go down. You can see that he's posting great quality work that is, it's just like, even just at the thumbnail level, it's a pleasure to view. And today I'm going to, this is his entry for the critique. We've got a field of poppies that Andy shot. He says that his aim for the photo was basically to capture a field of wild poppies in the dawn light, which is obviously coming through the poppy's translucent petals and showing this just a swath of colour across the countryside. I'm going to read a passage from Andy about his aim in photography in general as you just take a look at this. But Andy says, if I had to define one aim of my photography, then it's to share my wonder of the natural world around me. One of my favorite photographic subjects with which to do this is the annual cycle of wildflowers in my native Worcestershire in the UK. I love to capture drifts of snowdrops, woodland floors carpeted in bluebells, and meadows sprinkled with the rainbow collection of orchids and other wildflowers. I have learned a new term for this subject, which is flowerscapes. Fields of poppies are not easy to predict, and they often rely on a field being left fallow, but a bright red swath of colour must surely be one of the most striking subjects in the British summer rural landscape. All of the planets had to be aligned so that the weather forecast was for a bright morning, and I'd found a field of poppies in full bloom and had no other plans for 5 a.m. So that obviously leads us up to this photograph. So this is it, Andy Bartlett's field of poppies.
Awesome. Thank you, Martin. And well done, Andy, to manage to get a photograph of the sun on one of the 2 days a year it comes out in the UK. So, Ron, you're up first.
Wow, that's a brilliant presentation. The only thing that surpasses the wonderful words put behind this image is the image itself. As you were speaking, I was trying to see if there's anything I might be able to add or recommend or comment on that might bring this image a little bit more clarity. And the answer is no. I think this image is one of the best images of this kind that I've seen. Compositionally, it's beautiful. It has an exceptional foreground. The exposure has been nailed. It has something called a split complementary color scheme, and that is that it has green and red here in the foreground, and it has blues and oranges in the background, and it's creating an incredibly pleasing image to look at. There's nothing in this image I think I would like to change, take away, or add to. That's what I've got.
Thanks, Ron.
Nicely done. Thank you, Ron. Wes, who's muted.
Yep, I'm unmuted. So Ron, you're going to make me look like a bad guy, because if I even make one suggestion, I'm going to look mean.
Well, no, you just say it like you feel it. Yeah, just go with it.
No. You know, this image, if you were driving by this field, first off, you'd be amazed to be in that position. And if you were driving by this field, you'd have to stop. You'd have to stop and get out. And I can just picture this line of cars next to, you know, the photographer, just all having stopped at this scene, because it is that amazing. The only little tiny things I could suggest is there is one sort of bud on the left-hand side, which is darker than everything else, and it's a little distracting. I'd probably crop in a little bit to remove that, or brighten it a little bit. The contrast to me is just a touch high, just barely, and it's because I want it to be soft. I want it to be soft and fluid, and the foreground contrast is so much brighter than the background, you know, subtlety. And you could fix that either by, you know, softening the foreground a little bit, or actually bringing up the contrast in the sky and making the blues darker, and maybe put some orange into that sunset, which I have a feeling it was there originally. But it's an amazing scene, and the most amazing thing to me, I guess there's two things. One, if you zoom in, I mean, I have, you know, the full res image in front of me. If you zoom into the little tiny stems, they are underneath all those flowers. They are perfectly backlit. You get this glowing little side fringe on the sides of the stems, and it's just beautiful. And, you know, the timing of this shot, I mean, clearly this was planned. Clearly he knew when it was going to bloom, he knew where they were going to be, and he drove out to that location to get it. So kudos on the planning on this one. That's fantastic.
Excellent. Thank you, Wes. And AD, your turn.
Well, say it like it is. All right, I'll say it like it is. I sort of see a lower angle here. The goal of the photo was the sun shining through the petals, as I heard it. And to me, we're back a little bit farther, and I think I would have liked to have been a little bit closer to that dew, and especially in this area of the photo and the lower left here, where it's just gorgeous with some of the buds hanging their heads, and I'd like to see that a little closer, and maybe just frame this up just a little tighter than the way it is right now. The horizon is leaning slightly lower on the left. That's a big pet peeve of mine in landscapes. I do like the way that the image is bisected, though. That's always a favorite of mine, with a diagonal sort of line going through the middle. And I really love the color, and obviously technically the shot is spot on. I just think that the composition is slightly lacking, and I do think that it could have been pushed a little bit more in the processing, just a tad bit more warmth to it. It's a little cool on my end over here. I've been kind of getting into the little bit edgier processing lately, and then it's kind of where I'm going with stuff. But other than that, it's you know, technically, like I said, an absolutely gorgeous image, and I agree with Ron on all those other aspects. It's just, I think this just needs a little bit more composition to it, is all.
Cool, thank you, Masters. AD, I was wondering if you were to team up with Andy, you could offer a abandoned flowerscapes.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, I do want to just say really quickly, and Martin, good on you, buddy, because I may bring the pain once in a while, and this time the spirituality, but you brought the sheep. And I know that goes a long way with Trey. So I'm just saying. That's going back a lot of creation wars right there.
That sure is. Yeah, this is a fantastic image. I think he did a great job. I do have some feedback on it, though. This is sort of minor feedback because I think it's a successful image. These would be maybe minor improvements. And none of these are ranked above one another. One is that the sky in the top right has become a little gray, a little dull, kind of that gray HDR feel. I don't think this is an HDR photo. I don't think so, but it does read a bit gray in a few areas. Rather than like a clean fog, a clean mist, a bit of a gray fog. The other thing is that you can tell it's done with a wide-angle lens, because if you look at the left and right sides, like especially that tree on the left, you can just sense that it's stretched. You know, so the way to correct that is, I don't know if this will make any sense. I'll try to describe a Photoshop maneuver. Is you could just do the marquee tool around like the left, 1/6 of the photo, and then transform and just squeeze that part in a little bit, and that'll make that tree look more narrow and more normal. Same thing on the right side. I do that a lot of times in my photos. The f-stop was perfect. Everything looks perfectly in focus, because you can tell it's really high f-stop shot. You know, it must have been like f16 or something. The last thing is, I think this shot, the composition would be even better, to go to what AD was saying, is if he was up higher and aimed the camera lower. If he got up high, which is probably very difficult, you have to climb on a ladder or use a quad or something. But if you got up like 2 or 3 times as high and aimed the camera down, this thing would be almost all red flowers with just a little bit of sun and almost none of that sky. And that would have made it even a more stunning shot. Anyway, it's just a little quick feedback on an otherwise like super awesome shot.
Thanks, Ray.
Excellent. Thank you, Martin, and thank you to the Masters for what you're bringing through. South Africa are at 30 for 1. They've scored 30 runs and lost 1 wicket. Just thought I'd update you on that. Very important.
Martin, could you put Andy's Flickr account in the chat within the event here so that Tiff can pop it on Twitter?
Absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you.
Excellent. So now we're on to Ron. Take it away, Ron.
Okay. I'm approaching this a little bit differently. I unfortunately, life happens sometimes. I didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare, but I wanted to bring a little bit of the artistic landscape into this, and I'm going to begin by sharing a piece of work here. And I don't know if anyone here in the room can tell me who this painting is by. This is a painting.
Turner.
That's right, Trey. This is by Turner. Turner is a British artist, a very famous British artist who lived between the 1700s and the 1800s. And he's considered one of the world's foremost watercolor painters in his work with color. And this may not look spectacular to you, but I'm going somewhere with this. Just bear with me as I look at this image. It doesn't look like anything spectacular, but at a time when there was not, photography wasn't part of the game then, and paintings were part of how we identified landscapes, especially when we explored new areas. I'm just going to move on here. I'm going to look at a different image. Who wants to guess who this one is? If you say Turner, you're right. This one is Turner. Interesting subdued color palette. Interesting. It's actually hard to make this image out almost, but the textures and the colors are very mature. And I have another image to show you. Actually, it's this one here, and I'll just zoom in a little bit on this one here. And this one here is by a fantastic artist named Denise Laurie, who's in my cohort. And what I wanted to point out was I saw this image, and I immediately thought about Turner, and I immediately thought about her taking her photography to a level that pushes into fine art, and being willing to experiment and push that envelope. And I think photography is like that for all of us. Everyone here in this room has a different style, a different voice. Trey's very unique, and AD, you're very unique. You all have very unique voices, and you're doing things. And our apprentices are learning to do that. They're being willing to, push out to the edge and try something they've never tried before. Now, I haven't had the privilege of talking to Denise. She was out in the field and just said she couldn't send me a high-res image of this, and I said I still wanted to bring this to the Creation Wars to talk about this aspect of our creativity and our photography. And for Denise, I think this is one of the best images she's submitted so far, because it demonstrates that she's willing to learn and grow. And like I say, I don't know if she was trying to imitate Turner or not when she did this. So I wanted to put that out there. I also wanted to encourage, before you critique, I just want to show you another image. This one is also by Turner, and if I get this right here, this was painted completed in 1839. It was Turner's last painting, and it was sold at Sotheby's in 2010 for $44.9 million. Now, I bring that to you because I bring this to you as something we're not used to seeing. We see a lot of saturated colors. We see some beautiful HDR work. We see a lot of very edgy work. But I'm proud of Denise because she did something very artistic and creative. And who knows in the future what some of her work is going to sell for.
Nice. Great presentation, Ron. Thank you. Mr. Wes, you're up first.
You bet. This is a really cool image, and I actually agree with you 100%, Ron, that we in the photography industry, I've noticed, are way oversaturating stuff, and there's a couple of people out there, and I've tried it on a few images myself, that try the lower pastels and produce beautiful, beautiful painting kind of stuff, which is not seen. So I highly encourage her to keep going down that line, because I think that that'll help her find a style which is very, very unique, and she does a really good job with this image. I love it a whole bunch. It's very artistic. It's very it clearly shows that she has a compositional goal in mind and a creativity side that is lacking in a lot of people. So kudos to that. I don't have a whole lot to say. There's a couple of bits of the texturing I think that are a little too strong. The ones that bother me the most is just to the right of the left-hand landmass. There's some lines that come vertical on a lot of the rest of the image, and they bend a little bit to the right, just right of the landmass, and they stick out a little bit too strong, and they're distracting to me. And then the bottom left corner, I think, is a little on the dark side too. But man, this is a gorgeous piece of art, and I really hope she does sell it for a new record sale. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, take over from the Rhine. Okay, thank you, Wes. AD, you're muted. Can you give us your thoughts?
Yeah, actually, I just had a apprentice graduate from my cohort who we have dubbed the artographer, and his name is Barry Rosenfeld, and he is doing a lot of images in this same genre, and I've worked with him pretty closely on kind of developing his style, and so I'm used to seeing images like this, and it was great to have him in the cohort and having other people see that there is another side. Photography is just our tool, and we are all hoping to create our own art. I know I don't follow any specific rules when it comes to that creation time and courting the muse, so it's great to see that in this particular shot. And I love the colors. I think it's nice and muted. I do think that the texture is kind of overriding just a little bit, and the reason why I mention that is because if you think about the end medium for where we're going to print this, if we were to do a large canvas of this, you would let the canvas bring that texture forward, and then you would want to mute that texture just a little bit. Otherwise, it's going to become overpowering at that point, I think. But other than that, it's gorgeous, and keep working on it and keep doing it, because you're onto something great here. And definitely look up Barry, because he's got a thing going on too, and if you can inspire each other, that's always a great thing as well.
Cool. Thanks, AD. I love artographer. That's cool. Martin, your turn.
Okay, yeah, absolutely beautiful image. I tend to agree on the texture. I think it is a little bit heavy-handed some places, but as AD said, I mean, it would really start to get in the way if you print on something with a lot of texture. A smooth fine art rag would not do that. That would probably look fine as it is. Canvases, maybe just keep multiple copies of the photograph with the texture in such a way that you could tone it down as necessary for printing. But yeah, the image, the content of the image itself is beautiful. I love the very, very faint buildings in the distance. They almost like a ghost city back there. Really just adds so much, even though it is really such a faint part of the image. It feels older than it is. When you look at the boats and the shape of the boats in the image, you can tell it's a more modern scene, but it feels almost as old as some of the Turners that Ron showed us as well. So all in all, I think it's just simply beautiful. The one thing that kind of jumps out at me, that I'm not sure if it's just the shape of the land, but the little outcrop of land on the right seems to be slanting down very slightly. Makes me feel as though the horizon is actually tilting very slightly to the right. It doesn't bother me a lot, but I think maybe just try rotating the whole thing just very, very slightly to the left might might make that look a little bit better. But otherwise, yeah, I love it. It really is a very special style, and I'm definitely gonna be looking up and seeing if I can find a little bit more of this.
Cool. Thank you, Masters. Trey, do you have 5 cents worth?
Yeah, maybe 3. I think it's fantastic. I love this stuff. I like this stuff that's like kind of defines genres, and that kind of confuses people a little bit. You know, I think this has been a great critique session. You know, everyone here is so open-minded in the Arcanum. It's unbelievable. I think if this were to be shown to a bunch of traditional photographers who do the usual kind of critiques, you know, they would like, oh, what is this? You know, we don't know what it is. And then, like, you know, this artist might have to do stuff that is, you know, more in line with what photographers expect. So I like when people kind of go off in these really weird directions. But anyway, I think it's fantastic. I agree with Martin said. It feels like it's sliding a little bit to the right. That's sort of a technical thing. But there is something I think that all just pure photographers could take from this, and that is the overabundance of the sky and how important it is to have texture or something in the sky. Now, even without the canvasy texture look, just the swirls and the movement and the sense of motion, it's wonderful. All right. I see a lot of photographers that accidentally just have like a bunch of just white space. There's just nothing there, or something's unbalanced. So even though it has so much sky, this image is still perfectly balanced. So it's wonderful. Thank you for sharing it.
Cool. Thank you, Ron. Well done, Masters. 34 for 2 off 9.2 overs. As we go over to Wes, do you want to share us your entry for today?
I'd be more than happy to. All right, everybody see that?
Nearly. There we do.
Now,
okay,
yeah.
so this is not the image. This is an introductory image, but this is from Prithvi Mandava, who is somebody who just recently passed his level 5 critique with me, and has really produced a whole bunch of just awesome, serene, peaceful landscapes, and in every single one he wants to make you be standing right there. He wants to make you be a part of that scene, and one of his goals is to capture emotion and to capture a feeling of a scene, and I think that he achieves that really, really well in all of the images that he has shared with our cohort. And what's even better is Prithvi is the nicest guy. He is just the most friendly, wonderful, warm person, and we have such an awesome group of people in our cohort that share and have a good time together, and he fits in so well with everybody. This is the image that I'm bringing to you today, and I talked before about mystery, which is one of the reasons that I like this shot, because it makes you want to wonder why, what's going on here. And so I'm going to read his introduction to it, if I can jump over to it. So his words on this were, I used to come across a lot of seascape long exposures, some in black and white, that really caught my eye. The perfect straight horizon line, the smooth and flat surface of the water, the contrast between the sky and the water, all of these really captivated me, and I wanted to create something similar. So I looked on Google Maps for places within a few hours' drive from where I was living, which had a buoy or a pier or something that I could create a similar image with. I found such a place in Blyth, Northumberland, which I think was about 2 to 3 hours away. As I mentioned earlier to us, I had a 24 to 84 millimeter lens at the time, and the buoy was a little out in the sea, but I still shot it, and I kept the buoy right in the middle of the frame, knowing that I would need a heavy crop to get what I had in mind. And I'm glad that I nearly hit my mark. I wanted to evoke a feeling in the viewer, the same as what I felt when I look up at such images, and I nearly got it. And not for the waves breaking between the buoy and the shore. I'm talking about the white part of the water. If this had not happened, I'm sure that I would not have gotten exactly what I had in mind, although at a much smaller resolution. So the thing that I love about this image is the artistic simplicity of it. I'm very much a simplistic minimalist when it comes to photography, but this to me is an art piece that I could see hanging on a museum wall, and that would draw you in. You'd walk by it and you would look at it and you'd wonder what was happening in the scene. And there's so many elements of wonderful contrast between the light sky and the dark water and the light water and the dark water and the light water underneath it, which is a mirror image of the post, which has dark, white, dark. And then you have this fuzzy line that goes along with the clean, smooth line in the background. You know, this image to me is absolutely beautiful. So, and I know he's very much looking forward to what you guys think.
Thank you very much, Wes. I love simplicity. AD, you're up first on the feedback.
Awesome. Well, I just another great image tonight. If anything prevails in all of these landscapes, it's atmosphere. I'm really digging that. And I really like. I'm a big minimalist fan as well. I'm not sure as though the square crop is working for me in this, and I don't know why. It's weird. Certain minimalist style images just work for me, and certain ones don't. And for me, I don't know if it's the crop in this. I like all the elements and stuff, but it just the emptiness up above is almost too much negative space for me. I almost want this to be like a super wide shot for some reason. I don't know. But it's gorgeous and it's well executed. I've been looking at the high res here close up, and I'm really digging it. So it's just personal opinion is what it comes down to. Means absolutely nothing. Excellent job and very enjoyable image.
Thank you, AD. Martin.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very much into minimalist work as well, and my initial reaction to this is that it's very appealing. I love the fact, as Wes pointed out, that we've got the post itself on the buoy is got the very dark wet part at the bottom. That really sort of helps to anchor it, and I think without that it would look a little bit strange. But I love the way you've got that dark bit that just sticking into the sea. The buoy itself could be a little bit more interesting. I'm not sure. I mean, simplicity, yes, but the actual object doesn't hold a lot of interest for me. But as part of the larger scene, I think it works very well. I'm also kind of with AD in that the top of the screen, it looks like a big grey card, and although I do appreciate the overall simplicity, I also think that this probably would be better if the top of the screen was a little bit less. I don't necessarily want to see a totally symmetrical, like with half sky, half sea, or anything like that. But I think it doesn't really add anything to me other than saying more simplicity, which in some ways is great, but it just doesn't quite feel as though it's adding enough to warrant keeping such a large amount of sky.
Cool.
Otherwise, though, I mean, I love it to bits. I'm just, really, they're kind of just minor points.
Sure. Thank you very much. Ron, your turn.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of minimalist stuff, but I appreciate it, and I think this is very well done. I really enjoy it's like a geometric dichotomy. I can't explain it. There's this real unique quirkiness to the opposing values on the one, what would be, I guess, the subject in the buoy, and everything else, the way that the values have been flipped around, I think is brilliant. I think it's well seen, very well seen artistically. I would like to see a bit of a gradient, and not aggressively from the top to the bottom of the gray, so it's less like a gray card. And I would, and this is opinion speaking, I mean, when we talk about art, there's often not clear-cut ways to discuss it, so I don't want to say I like or I don't like, even though I do like this image. But I would be inclined to take some artistic liberty and even out a bit of the gradient to the misty foreground, so that it's a little less choppy, so that it gives me that real balanced, symmetrical feel that is this image. But if I'm to take away one thing from it, this is just brilliant and quirky, and in that opposing little shape, and I love the big space around it. I actually really adore that big space. I would love to just see a bit more gradient to it.
Cool.
And yeah, that's where I would go with it.
Excellent. Thank you, Masters. Trey, do you have any feedback?
I don't know how much to say about it. I like it. I think it's a nice shot. It's a good idea. I like that there was some idea going into it. The colors are nice. I think the gradation, I like how it goes white, like the whole background is white, dark gray, light gray, and the sign is black, white, dark gray. That's very clever. I just like a lot about it. The lines feel very pleasing. It's so funny. This is the kind of image I might expect a Martin Bailey to bring, and the one he brought is one that I'd expect Wes to bring. So it's like opposite night. But yeah, it's cool. I tell you, it's going to be hard to compare this. I'm just thinking ahead to the other ones because at least they're all kind of landscapey, but they're all each in their own. So it's going to come out to a lot, I think, to personal preference. But I think, like the others, this is a very accomplished shot, and there's a lot of thought that goes into it. And I think it's quite clever with that color distribution.
Cool. Excellent. If the Masters could all share their screens again, we'll have the wrap-up where you each get, I say 20 seconds, but you all tend to take 2 minutes. A very short time to basically have a chance to stand up one more time for your image and tell the Masters why they should be voting for you. So we'll go in reverse order. So Wes, if you want to counter any of those comments, you're welcome to right now.
Well, I won't counter them. I do. I love this image a lot, and it's been through through a few iterations. But the reason I think I brought this one and I like it the most is, and it was actually selected before the landscape theme came up, but it really brings about the principles in the Arcanum that we're really striving for. Prithvi he planned it, he executed it, perfectly. It was not just a go out and snap kind of picture. He put a lot of forethought into it. And then he really brought what we were trying to get out of the Arcanum, which is a sense of art, and it's not a sense of this object out in the world. It's a true sense of art in this image, and that's the reason I like it.
Well, thank you, Wes. Ron?
Yeah, with this image, again, I really appreciate what the apprentices in the Arcanum are willing to put into what they're doing, into their learning, into their experimenting. They're going far beyond just taking pictures, and they're creating images that are pleasing and create emotion and connection. In this one, actually, I agree. I think I forget who was saying it. Maybe it was you, Wes. A couple people said maybe there's a little bit of tilt to the right, and I looked at that. I just wanted to point out in defense of Denise here, when I looked at the left-hand boats and the line, I really felt that they were properly grounded. And so I think that is the way the landmass twists over to the right-hand side. I don't think it had to do with a tilt at all. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. And yeah, I just think this exemplifies what we're doing at the Arcanum, what our apprentices, all of our work, not just this one, all of the work tonight is just exemplary of creating images and not just taking pictures.
Cool. Thank you, Ron. Martin, your turn.
Okay. Yeah. So I remember this photograph of Andy's is one of the first that he shared with us, and I remember feeling as though I was there. I could feel the cool air in the morning as the sun started to hit these poppies. I felt as though I was actually standing there next to Andy, maybe with my own camera. And I just love images that make me do that put me in a place. And so I went back to this for today just because of the fact that it's a photograph out of all of the apprentices that just keeps popping up in my mind. And so I hope that it's resonated with some of not only the other masters but the people that are watching this today. It's beautiful work, Andy, and thanks for being a part of everything we do.
Well done, and AD.
Well, man, amazing images. I'm so proud to be here, and I know Caleb is as well, and on his journey. And I'm just going to let you guys look at Caleb's image for my remaining 20 seconds, and just enjoy.
You cheat. You have to talk.
Excellent. Good work. Thank you, Masters. That was a fantastic show. I've just now sent you the link to the form, which for everyone at home looks like this. Much more advanced than the way Trey used to do it back in the early days. Pretty much Jessica Lark proof, this one.
It's Lark proof. That's right. It's like one of those special bottle heads that comes on a thing of Rohypnol. You can't take it off unless you're a grown-up.
So I'll unshare that because you don't really need to see that anymore. Masters, if you could unshare your screen. So AD, I don't know whether you're going to do that, but we had one instance where someone was sharing their screen while they voted, and I was able to go in and see what they voted for me simply by pushing replay on the event. So make sure you don't share your screens. Now, while those guys are doing that, Trey, do you have anything to share? Because I have a sense that you might do.
Maybe you could give me a hint as to which direction you're going.
I got this very strange focus low. Yeah, I got this very strange tweet last night saying that Trey Ratcliffe has sent me some love, and I followed that.
I give you some internet love. That was a private between you and me, though. Come on, I just
come on.
I just wanted to ride the beard, Ollie. No, it wasn't that. You know, I'm an early adopter in all these things, you know, just to see if they work out. 1 out of 20 times they work out. And just because I think it's cool, because I think it's a good idea, and I kind of want to put my good mojo into it. And, you know, I do think that the way artists and teachers and creators and everything, I think that the way that that creators will be compensated in the future will be dramatically different than it is today. You know, that's of course one reason that we started up the Arcanum. We think this is an incredible model. It seems to be looking really good so far. We're super happy with it. You know, we're still tweaking as we go, and we've got all these great masters to help us tweak it along the way and iterate on it. But this other thing, what's it called, Ollie? It's called. Oh, you're busy doing. I see. No, you wanted me to talk when you're doing your own thing.
No. I can't remember the name of it. It's
Project I'm obviously not a very good spokesman for this because I've already forgotten the name of it. Oh, it's called Recurrency.
Recurrency, that's the one.
Recurrency. Well, so I got a strange tweet. There's a guy in Silicon Valley who's kind of a friend. His name's Jason Calacanis, and I got a tweet from him that he's paying me $1 a month. I thought, all right, well that's nice. What the heck? What's going on? So I went there because I had never even signed up for the service. And I thought, well, how can you give me money on a service I've never signed up for? So I go there, and it automatically signs me up. And then I said, oh, I can give money to people too. So I think I gave I just picked kind of 12 random people, somewhat random people that I kind of knew, and I gave each of them $1 a month, you know. And anyway, I think that's kind of a cool thing. Like, they were not yet connected to the service, but when they log in, they'll be connected to the service. So I think it might be a way for just people to connect with one another and just give them sort of like a recurring tip, I guess, and sort of a thank you for creating. And I do think one of my hobbies is actually economies or economics, and I'm a big fan of. There's this Austrian economist named Joseph Schumpeter who believes in this creative destructionism, and there's this idea that capitalism may not be the end-all, be-all economy of the world. That it's possible we might move into more of a tip-based economy. There'll still be products and services that'll be sort of a hybrid economy, but the more and more internet services that provide sort of tip-type activities, I'm all for, and I really support it because I think it's kind of a cool thing. So anyway, that's what Recurrency is about. As far as I can tell, it's brand new. It just started like a day ago.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to my $1 a month. I'll make sure I buy some decent food for the kids with it. Really cool idea. I'll have to check out more, and maybe I'll pass that $1 on to someone more deserving, like Stuart.
Actually, the tip industry has been really large in the software development world for a long time. It's very common to have open source developers and game developers. You know, the shareware industry way back when, where you had to pay $1, to donate to the game that you had downloaded for free, kind of thing. So it's good that it's progressing into other realms of the world.
Cool. Now, on my last check, Wes, you may need to unlarkify your results because currently I only have 3 points handed out by you for other masters. Everyone else got it right first time?
Well, no, but we were only supposed to do 3, so I'm confused.
No, we've got to give away 5, up to 3 to any one master.
Oh, you mean I have to read instructions and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's what they on that little particular page I sent you.
All right, I thought it was one per thing. All right.
Nearly.
You'll have to delete my original line. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Try again. You may be able to change what you sent. I can't remember.
No. No.
Okay. Just do it again. That's cool.
No problem.
56 for 2. So South Africa has built a very solid base for their innings. Lost a couple of wickets quick early on, but they're standing up against our fastest and meanest bowlers quite well. So on edge. This is knockout cricket. Most exciting kind of cricket you'll ever find, other than a 5-day test match. Now, Tiff has shared with me a link that I forgot to mention earlier on, which is the link to the public vote for the People's Choice Award. Tiff, where can they find that link?
I've shared it in the event page over on the Arcanum social channels and on Twitter.
Excellent.
I don't know.
Well, we have a winner. And it's quite a strong winner, actually. I'll just make sure we've got 5 in each row. 5, 5, 5, 5. Well done, Masters. The winner tonight is Mr. A.D. Wheeler.
Oh, yay! Time. Yay, Caleb! Nice job, Caleb.
Yeah,
Not
well
my
done.
pick at all, just so you know.
That was a tough one. I really didn't know which way that was going to go this week. Those images were amazing, and thank you to you, Masters, for bringing such wonderful imagery to our show. We are, however, 7 minutes late, so unfortunately I've been fired, and Stuart will be taking over from now on while I watch the rest of the cricket. So thank you for coming. Now we'll give those public votes a couple more minutes, just in case anyone wants to make up for the fact that AD won and someone else should have. But thank you all, Masters, and I did love your presentations, especially probably AD's. I'm totally jealous, dude, that I might even contemplate the fact that there was a guy who worked on the Star Wars movies sitting in the antechamber and I didn't select him.
Wow,
How
did that happen?
Yeah, and it wasn't like it wasn't a random, I didn't know either until, he never said a word to me until probably 2 months in, and then he broke all this. I found him he's the only person I even know personally on IMDb. I don't know anybody who was a famous movie star or anything like that, so it's pretty cool. And he's going to be hanging out with us in San Francisco if we can pull all that together. So
excellent. Exciting. So anyone who's currently sitting in the antechamber who worked on Star Wars, please go and put that in as a keyword. I will find you presently. And potentially what we Masters need to do is go into the antechamber and select names at random and check the IMDb website to see whether this guy's actually...
It's a huge boost for you, let me tell you.
We could just get that programmed in. I mean, it's a database thing. It's
Curtis can do it. Curtis can do it. Pete will get shot for me saying that, but Curtis is going to kill Pete. Hey,
Curtis is always going to kill Pete.
I don't know if those images you had were high res, but I would pay top dollar for that one of the Death Star. I thought that was awesome.
Yes,
Great
anybody who's interested, please contact Caleb. He is sole owner of all of that stuff. Even the ones I did are back in his possession. So I just stepped in for the love of doing it, and they're all his. So totally awesome.
Well deserved. Tiff, do we have a People's Choice? No, you're muted for some reason.
Oops, sorry. Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
Yeah. The old mute button on the headset problem. We have a People's Choice. People's Choice this week went to A.D. Wheeler as well.
Oh, look at that. Round of applause.
Yeah.
Star Wars for the win.
Double header. Thank you, Ron.
80 brought the 1970s ringer. That was well played.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, we're going to end that show right there. We're going to head into the after show and just ramble on for ages until someone sends in an email of complaint to Tanya. I don't know. Maybe Tiff can share whether Tanya has posted a photo today of me potentially in a hammock with some alternate background. Is that going to happen this week?
Not on Twitter, or not so far. It hasn't.
Fabulous. No Twitter abuse of Ollie.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, thank you all for joining us. Those of you who need to go pick up the kids, you can go now, and we'll head into the after show. Thanks all.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.